Hello everyone, my name is Zeng Ziyang, a Chinese student from the School of International Liberal Studies of Waseda University. The other team member is Munakami Nariko. She is from the School of Commerce, Waseda University. But recently she isn't feeling very well, so I will be today's presenter. Our team want to talk about the evolution of trade in Asia, especially from the perspective of financial crisis, which happened in 2008. Basically, we believe that the financial crisis is so influential that there must be great changes brought by the crisis to the Asian trade. We want to know the whole story, so we pick this topic. Okay, let's begin. Now you see the outline. There are three parts. The first part is trade performance before the crisis. And in this part, we will first show you the rise of emerging Asian in world trade, especially the intra-regional trade. And then we will talk about the asymmetry of intra-regional trade in Asia. And also we will include the regionalization and the globalization. And the second part is trade performance after the crisis. In this part, we all know that the sudden shock and Asians' quick recovery from the crisis, and we will talk about China's important role for the rebounding in trade. And also, we will include some challenges remain for Asian countries in trade adjustment. Okay, next is conclusion. Basically, we will talk about the future print for the Asian trade and also trade adjustments and restructure in details. Okay, before the presentation, I want to clarify some basic terms such as intra-regional trade and inter-regional trade, which consists the Asian trade. But what is intra-regional trade? Simply speaking, it's a trade which happens within the region, and on the contrary, inter-regional trade is trade happen cross regions. In order to fully understand the inter-regional trade and intra-regional trade, we must first know what's a production network. Production network is different parts of a product are produced in different countries. As you can see, for example, a product has 4 parts A, B, C, D, and maybe part A is produced in Germany and part B and C is produced in Japan, and China produced D. And then China put A, B, C, D together and export to European Unions and to US, and it's the final goods. Inter-regional trade is a sign of globalization, right? Okay. How about inter-regional trade? It's almost the same with the inter-regional trade, but the only difference is that all the producers or the importers or the exporters, they are all Asian countries. It's a sign of regionalization. Okay. After clarifying the basic terms, I'll show you the figure about trade of emerging Asian. You can see that trade volume in Asia has been rising very quickly in recent 20 years, especially the intra-regional trade. Until the 2010, interregional trade of Asian counts more than a half in total Asian trade. What does it mean? It means that Asian countries' interdependence on each other becoming stronger, right? And there are two interesting asymmetries behind the booming interregional trade. What's asymmetries? The first is asymmetry between imports and exports, and the second is between the components trade and final goods trade. As you can see, first is a asymmetry between the imports and exports. Simply speaking, it means that Asian countries, they import more from each other and export more to the outside world. And what they import is largely from the Asian, as you can see. Okay, the same is exports. The larger part of export is to the non-Asian countries. Okay, another asymmetry is components and final goods. No matter China, Japan, and Korean or ASEAN countries, they are all Asian countries. The ratio of intermediate goods, also the components, is very high. And compared with the European Union or with North America, the consumption goods is relatively lower. That is to say, inter-Asian trade, it is dominated by the components. And inter-Asian trade, it's mainly about the final goods to the outside world. Okay, Asian's interregional trade ratio is much higher than other regions. As I mentioned above, inter-Asian trade boomed, and it shows a stronger interdependence or a stronger regionalization. But can Asian be immune to external shock because of the stronger regionalization? The answer may be no. But why? Because even though the interregional trade is becoming more and more important, it is still a half. So global market of Asian is also very important, even more important, because the final goods of Asian is most exported to global market. Okay, the financial crisis, which happened in 2008, proved this. Okay, let's understand the mechanism of the crisis. As you can see, crisis happened and American began to act, and the government cut interest rate and tax, and it resulted the dollars depreciating. And as the dollar depreciating and Asian countries' domestic currency began to appreciate. So it's difficult for Asian to export to the outside world. Also, the demands from the developed countries also dropped. It's a whole mechanism of the crisis. After you know the mechanism, you can clearly see that the Asian trade dumped very heavily after the crisis, no matter exports and imports. This kind of down basically proved that Asian can't be immune or can't be independent to the external shock, especially in the era of globalization. But even so, Asian recover relatively more quickly than other areas, such as European Union, such as American. As you can see, compared with the world recovery, Asian performed better. This figure also shows Asians' excellent performance after the crisis in recovery. But why Asian recovered so quickly? I think there are two reasons. The first reason is production network, which result the connected effect. It means that if one country in Asia began to recover because of the close relationship in Asia, another country maybe benefit from the recovery. So it is a connected effect. And also, inter-regional trade is becoming more and more important. The second reason is that China plays a very important role in the rebounding. Why? Because China has a large market as a buffer for other Asian countries. As what I have researched, after the crisis, Malaysia and Thailand, they both shift their export destination to China rather than to American or to European Unions, because China has a large market. And also, China has a big policy space for government to take some measures and put these measures into effect very quickly. But there are also some challenges remain for Asian trade. As for the crisis showed that Asian trade is very fragile to outer market. So it is very urgent for Asian countries to encourage their domestic demands. But it is not very easy. Why I say it is not very easy? Let's put Japan and Korea and China as examples. For Japan, we all know that Japanese domestic market has almost matured, so there is little room for them to expand. And also, Japanese yen keeps appreciating recently. Besides, Japan has some tariff problems in Asia. And also, Korean expect for the tariff problem, Korea has a relatively smaller domestic market. For China, even though China performs so well in the crisis, but China still have so many problems. As a Chinese, I know a little bit about these problems, such as overinvestment in some infrastructure. You know, the more investment, the less consumption. And also, China has many bubbles in real estate sector, which means that people have to spend so much money to buy houses and little money left to consume. And the third part is that China's money is mainly holding by Chinese government rather than Chinese citizens. So people don't have so much money to consume, especially in the crisis. Okay, finally, we come to the conclusion. And I summarized 4 phases for world integration. The phase 1 is a basic phase. It is regionalization. And it happened before the modern society, when the high technology and transportation and economy isn't so developed, and countries, especially neighbor countries, they began to interact with each other. But further, more remote countries, due to the economic or transportation limitation, it's hard to reach. And the second phase is a globalization in the industrial society. And the phase 3 is globalization-driven regionalization, and such as Asian, they have very strong regionalization, but this kind of regionalization serves for the globalization, because Asian become regionalized in order to export more to the global market. And the final phase is phase 4. Phase 4, globalized and regionalized, has both been realized, and it's no difference when we talk about globalization and regionalization. And I think now we are shifting from phase 3 to phase 4. And since we are between phase 3 and phase 4, the interdependence within Asian is becoming more and more important and stronger. And simultaneously, regionalization and globalization are both going further and deeper. And in order to reduce the influence of the crisis, it's urgent to expand domestic demands for Asian countries, especially for those export-oriented countries. But it is not so easy. It takes time and efforts for Asian to adjust and restructure its trade. So, okay, finally, we come to the end, and this is our reference. And thank you for your listening, and we are glad to answer all kinds of questions. Okay, thank you very much.